it's supposed to be, if my time's supposed to come, or whatever it may be, or however you look at it, then, it'll come. If not, then it won't.
Julius Shareef Abdur Rahim, born December 11th, 1976. Today's feature is one of the most versatile players of his era and was the perfect wing player that could fit in just about any generation of the NBA. He eventually became an NBA All-Star, averaging 18 points and 7 rebounds for his 12-season career, yet when you look at his history and how things played out, he's also one of the biggest what-if stories of superstar potential, but factors not in his control caused that potential to fade slowly over time and end abruptly into an underwhelming career as far as achievement, effect on winning, and being remembered for the player he could have been but eventually wasn't. Shareef came into the league after spending just one season in college where he was the Conference Freshman of the Year and Player of the Year, the first in the Pac-10 to do so. The '96 NBA draft is remembered for being, if not the best, one of the best drafts of all time that had 10 All-Stars and 4 MVPs shared between Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, and Steve Nash. Shareef was the third player selected in that draft by the one-year removed expansion Vancouver Grizzlies. Like college, he was immediately their best player, averaging 18 points, 7 rebounds, a steal, and a block in 35 minutes a game and 80 games played. The team struggled, but struggle was expected in the NBA's early experiences having a franchise outside the US borders, and as any new team would, no matter where it was. But the struggles went on and on and on for the first 5 years of Rahim's career, where every season the Grizzlies were one of the worst teams in the league, and in the 50-game lockout 98-99 season, one of the worst teams all time, winning just 8 out of 50 games. Shareef averaged career highs that year in scoring, steals, assists, and minutes played playing all 50 games. For his Vancouver career, he averages 20 and 8, and yet was never selected to an All-Star team. Instead of the relationship between player and team continuing on with the same disappointing results, Shareef was traded to his hometown Atlanta Hawks, becoming an All-Star in his first season, and hovered around the same level for 3 years back home. Mattered none, because once again, Abdur Rahim was on another bad team that failed to make the playoffs under his leadership. His career repeated itself from there on, playing on one bad team after the other, except the 05-06 Sacramento Kings team that made the playoffs but lost in the first round in 6 to the Spurs. Abdur Rahim says he's appreciative of the opportunity to have played the sport, but wished over his career he could have played on some better teams. So do we. Then maybe we could have seen Mr. Versatile reach his full potential. Instead, for these reasons, his growth was stunted. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Shareef Abdur Rahim was a 6'9" power forward, small forward from Marietta, Georgia, who became somewhat of a prodigy in those days at Wheeler High. In his junior year, he led his high school to a state championship and won his first Georgia Mr. Basketball. He'd win another as a senior and Parade All-American, going into his first and lone season at the University of California, Berkeley. On a team that had 5 future NBA players, all older than Shareef, he was by far their best player, and the conference noticed it too, averaging 21 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 38% from 3. They rewarded him with the Freshman of the Year award, along with the Conference Player of the Year. The iron was hot, and Shareef was ready to strike big on basketball's highest levels. Rarely seen before was the one and done, and Shareef played on that potential, being great in team workouts before the draft, enough the Grizzlies took him with the 3rd overall pick in a star-studded, franchise-changing '96 draft and gave him the keys. What if number 1, not drafted to the Grizzlies? One of the biggest knocks on Shareef's career is that he only had a hot start in the NBA because he played on a 1-year removed expansion team and allowed to be great individually with that bad team, without comparable talent to challenge him. It was like college all over again. Lots of freedom to be whatever he wanted as the team together never improved. Individually, Abdur Rahim was great, even all-star worthy, putting up the numbers he did, including a career year in 98-99. But the Grizzlies had nowhere to go year after year in their beginnings and never placed an adequate team around Abdur Rahim. After the 2000-2001 season, Shareef was traded to the Hawks and the Grizzlies ended up relocating to Memphis because for the NBA, the Vancouver market just wasn't supportive enough, nor were they even able to get free agents who wanted to live out the country and not see their families for most a year at a time. Statistically, Abdur Rahim spent the best parts of his career in Vancouver wasting away without help or even coaching that could get him to the playoff level. Had he been drafted to a different team early on, Abdur Rahim may have averaged a little less with more help, but in the right situation, he plays harder and is pushed by talent around him, making him individually go to another level, leading to the team winning or at least in contention. What if number 2, no homecoming or jailblazers? As if the Vancouver situation wasn't trying enough, they agreed to trade Abdur Rahim to his hometown Atlanta Hawks in 2001, and again he found himself on a bottom-feeding team with years before they had contending plans. Individually, it was great, just like it was in Vancouver, but having Jason Terry as your next best player averaging 19 points a game and the next guy after him not even 10 wasn't much of a difference in outcome, meaning once again missing the postseason. He was an all-star for the only time in his first season in Atlanta, which made the move not all bad, having a most deserving all-star for all the ones the NBA missed while he was in Vancouver, out of sight, out of mind. He spent just about 3 seasons in Atlanta, all being one of their top players, as the team never really improved without acquiring enough talent, or even the right talent, only Glenn Robinson as a teammate being one of those talents. But Robinson would only play a season in Atlanta, and personality-wise, he wasn't the leader needed. He was basically the same guy as Abdur Rahim, great players that needed someone to show them how to win at a high level. So what does Abdur Rahim get for playing on 2 of the worst teams in the league at the time? A chance to be traded to a legendary disaster of a team in the Portland Trail Blazers, in that era famously called the Jailblazers, for all the trouble multiple players would get in. Stoudemire and marijuana, Sean Kemp drug rehab for cocaine abuse, drug counseling, and again marijuana charges for Rasheed Wallace, who was eventually traded in the multi-team deal involving Abdur Rahim. Rookie Zach Randolph breaking Ruben Patterson's eye socket in a fight in practice, underage drinking, domestic abuse charges for Patterson, Quintel Woods speeding, driving without insurance, and of course marijuana possession. You name it, and the Blazers somehow had the experience. Abdur Rahim spent 2 seasons there, wasting the last of his prime again on a losing team. What if number 3, the New Jersey Nets trade went through? Abdur Rahim's career seemed to go from bad to worse when it came to situations out of his control, and the final one was him not being able to join the New Jersey Nets like planned when he was traded there in the 05 offseason, but had the trade rescinded because of a knee injury he suffered earlier that left scar tissue and concerned the Nets franchise. The trade was put on hold until different doctors could take a look at Shareef's knee, but during the waiting process, he sped it along by being caught saying he didn't feel he wanted to be a Net, making the team pull the trade and go forth without him. The Nets made it to the semifinals the next season with Carter, Kidd, and Jefferson, and would have been that much better with Abdur Rahim's help, maybe enough to send them to the finals again, or at least the conference finals. That's a lot more winning for Abdur Rahim, and a lot of playoff features done on him to build a stronger legacy. He was instead signed by the Sacramento Kings as a free agent days later and made the playoffs for the first time in 06, but they were spanked 4-2 with Abdur Rahim in a much more limited role due to the knee progressively getting worse. He finished his career in Sacramento playing 6 games in 2008 before retiring at just 31 years old. All in all, Abdur Rahim's career seems like it never really got on track, and what's shocking is it was mostly out of his control. He was drafted to a losing situation, then traded to more losing teams, and developed a knee issue that caused him to have to go to another losing team for the most part. It would have been interesting seeing him in a better situation, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. Salute, much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. I'm out.